Hey guys, Tecmo here. Sorry about my voice. I've been sick for a few weeks now. Like just dragging a cold around. But before holidays were coming up, video would be gonna be delayed another more weeks, at least like 2 weeks. So I'm trying this right now. How it is with my voice. If it doesn't sound that great, I'll probably redub the video. Nonetheless, I just want to get started. Talking to you about interplanetary travel with Principia in the easy version. So we're not doing any swing buys. But mentioning swing buys, there is actually a great new tool out there. Someone posted on Reddit. I have to look it up. I'll put it down in the descriptions. About a new tool to calculate swing buy maneuvers. But we will explore a little bit of aero braking, at least the theoretical part, on how to do it and how it's going to save you delta V to achieve an orbit, let's say for Mars or Venus, that you want to achieve when you do the capture. So where do we want to start? So first of all, we need a rocket that's capable of delivering, right? So we need a rocket that's capable of delivering your payload at least to low Earth orbit, to your parking orbit, from where on you want to start your mission. What you want to do in that mission is actually depending on the delta V that you need to achieve. There is some other guides out there in the tools that we've used already, for example, the delta V map. But also what we were going to use in this video now is the transfer window planner to get the delta V that you need for the mission. So when you design your interplanetary satellite, obviously there is a weight limit, right? Depending on the time of your career, you will have to have a satellite with a maximum mass that is capable of achieving the needed delta V. Especially early on, you will not really go into capturing, just doing flybys. Doing that, still you need an antenna. We talked about this already in another video about how to design your antenna that is capable of supporting transmissions up to your desired mission range. And also you need to take care of power supply, right? If you go to Venus, you're going closer to the sun. Sun is going to be shining more intense, so you have a better power efficiency from your solar panels. If you're going to Mars, it's gonna be less, right? And if you're gonna go like Jupiter, Saturn, and outer planets, you will probably have to rely on RTGs in addition to your solar panels. But just for today, tools that we are gonna use is MacJab 2 in the dev version. We're gonna go and need to go to orbit properly. We're gonna plan our orbit properly, and then from there on, we work with the tools that Principia is actually giving us. Then we need some kind of guide that helps us plan a mission properly. So it could be the Delta V map, it could be the transfer window planner. We're going to use the latter one. And optionally, we're going to use KOS for the burn maneuvers. You could do it with MechJeb, of course, as well. So how do we plan this project? The first phase in the game would be the planning, right? Where do I want to go? What do I need to get for that? And from there on. Then you need to get your rocket off the Earth in your parking orbit, plan your burn accordingly with the tools Principia gives you, and the next two phases are a maybe phase. So that means if you want to catch an orbit, you probably need some mid-course correction to fine-tune your orbit with the energy that's provided to you. And in the final phase, it's the insertion and the orbit. Well, also maybe if you have the delta V left, especially later down your career path, you will most likely do. Then you will plan your insertion, how to get to a proper orbit, and then maybe even to a targeted orbit. But let's start with the phase one with planning. So we use the transfer window planner, and then we need to figure some stuff out. So we're coming in, or we're using it, we're coming from Earth, right? So what is our initial orbit's height? We're going to put this in there. 100 kilometers is a little bit too less, so we're probably going to go like 180, 200, depending on the capabilities of your starting rocket, but also the inclination. The inclination is very important. You don't want to go for zero inclination in the calculation if you're starting, let's say, from Cape Canaveral or anything, because then you have to actually put in an enormous amount of energy to correct your orbit to a lower inclination. A higher will always be possible. A lower one is going to be pretty difficult. So make sure that you take care of your inclination as well. The next is going to be your destination. Where do we want to go to? So for the tutorial, we are going to go to Venus, and then we can say, okay, we don't do an insertion burn. We just calculate it to just do a flyby, get some mission data out there, get some science data, send it back. Early on, great way to farm science, right? You can do it with very light technology. The biggest technology hurdle you have to take is your antenna, your electricity, but the rest is possible, even with rocket tech that just gets you to the moon. Usually, it's just the energy and the antenna that's going to hold you back. If you want to do an insertion burn, leave it unchecked, so you know the data on your insertion burn. And from there on, you're going to go and just plot it. And so let's say we've done that. We've put in our starting orbit at 180 kilometers height, 26 degrees minimum inclination. We want to go for a circular final orbit of 1,000 kilometers on Venus. So it's going to plot us out this two-dimensional graph here. So it's the departure date in days past and the travel time. And we can see here that at this moment we have the best fit. So from the departure range we have to the least amount of travel time and the least amount of delta V, which is marked in the color. So it's actually three-dimensional. So that's the least amount of total delta V that we need at minimum to achieve our mission. There is also some other information in here, and that is especially important for your phase 2, 3, like getting off the Earth, doing a mid-course correction. So you want to launch to the right LAN, which is given here, but also to the right inclination. So the orbit has to be in that inclination. Doesn't have to be, but it's the optimal inclination that you need to achieve at this longitude of the ascending node, to just do, in theory, if everything worked out perfectly, to just do a prograde burn on that specific phase angle with the ejection delta V of almost 4K. We're going to use this to ease the planning in Principia. We're going to see that soon. And then we are going to execute that burn. Probably maybe do a correction after the burn, shortly after the burn. And then for the rest of the journey, try to turn the solar panels to the sun so we keep the energy up. And then do a midway correction somewhere down the road. Why we want to do a midway correction is pretty simple. So when you plan your interception, it should probably look like something like this. You're coming in from one direction, and then you're doing like a swing by maneuver, and then you're leaving again. And then you have this distance here between your trajectory and the planet, and then that is here. This distance is your periapsis. When you do this and then would do like a capture burn, so we don't just do a string by, we want to do a capture burn. Maybe if needed, do correct the orbit and maybe even use aero braking to conserve delta V. How does that work? So for the capture itself, for the mid-course correction, so if I achieved this in mid-course correction, that it looks like something like this, and then I'm coming in for the capture, we want to burn here retrograde to be actually captured by the gravity of that specific celestial body, like Venus, for example. And then it should look something like this. So you have your periapsis that we've planned for, you burn, and so you have a highly elliptical orbit. That's the minimum amount of delta V you need to achieve a more or less stable orbit. So what you could do now is you could just burn uh, burn harder here on this node to get your orbit all the way down, like going like this, right? Keeping it circular. So would more likely look like this. This costs you a lot of delta V. This costs a lot of energy. So what you could do instead is do aerobraking. And with aerobraking, you wait until your satellite is up here at apoapsis, and then do a slight retrograde burn. And you want to go very, very, very slightly into the atmosphere. Not that much that you experience any hard heating or anything, but just this little amount of drag that slows you down. But since now your periapsis is within this atmosphere, when you slow down at this point, your orbit is going to decrease, your apoapsis is going to decrease here. So it's going to decrease, and every other circle is going to decrease ever so slightly, and it's going to decrease, decrease, decrease. So you probably have to take a few revolutions here, like 10, 15, doesn't matter, until it's going down here. So it's going to get circular. Um, but if you go like this, you are going to probably burn up. So once you reach like an altitude that seems more safe, you're doing a prograde burn on apoapsis again to raise your periapsis out of the atmosphere. So now you've used the minimum amount of energy for achieving a normal orbit that you can work with all the way, maybe even low orbit, so you can do all the juicy science for the regions from low Earth, from low Venus orbit instead of being like at like 45,000 or plus out. Um, and this is with the aerobraking, you just don't need as much delta V anymore to actually correct the orbit from a very high elliptical orbit from high Venus to get to a doesn't have to be circular, but to a complete low Venus orbit to get all the science you need. Right, so that's more or less for the theoretical part what we want to do. So let's switch to the game and from there on have a look at how that's going to work out. So I have my game set up here. I did a save game so we can really mess around with it. I prepared my rocket already, and so what we want to do is we want to, and I hope this is more or less visible now. We want to use the transfer window planner, and so we're going to go for 200 by what is it, like 28. We want to go to Venus. Oh, I have to do 28 again. I want to go to Venus. Let's do the 1,000 and then plot it. So if you can see here, we need about like 4,000 meters per second for the ejection, 3.2 for the insertion to that orbit. Ejection line is here. So if we add now a KSC alarm, all the information that we need here is in the tooltip. So once we reach this point, we are gonna be good and golden, and we could just use that information to plan our ascent. So yeah, we're back. Time passed. We are ready to launch, more or less. So let's wait until the next day to get up and running. Let's close the transfer window planner. 19 hours. That's good. I mean, we have a lot of delta V. We're in the ballpark range. So let's launch our rocket here to get this up to orbit. And just to keep short on the time, I will just start the rocket real quick, do a shortcut, and we'll see each other again in orbit. Um, but I want you to see how to use MacJab properly with the ascent guidance here to achieve the needed orbit. So in my case, we do need to stop on stage 1, and that's also the early shut-off stage. The orbit is like, what, 200, did I say? 200 by 200. So let's look. So the ejection line is 306, 3061. So that's 306.1. And the inclination, ejection inclination is 42.31. So that's like a 42.3, 42.31. Okay, so that's all we need. And then we are going to engage the autopilot and say, like, launch to land. And what it does now, it's going to do a countdown, and it's warping to that time that we need to achieve that our ascending node is at that specific um, point in space. So yeah, performance sucks. Anyways, I'm gonna see you guys in orbit. Well, right. So we achieved orbit. We can use now our vessel to plan out the injection to Venus. For that, we're gonna need to use the Principia tools, and for that, we'll switch to the map, the big map, and we're gonna look for Venus. That's probably up here. Set this as a target, and the plotting frame is then gonna be Venus Sun orbit. So for flybys of Venus, transfers to or from it. Good. After we've done that, we have to plan out our actual maneuver. So we achieved the orbit with the inclination and everything. So the next is we need the ejection delta V. So in optimal condition, that would be 4020. So it's going to be in the ballpark range there. So let's just try to start a flight plan. So we're going to create a flight plan, and our trip is going to take us at least, let's see, travel at, so travel time is 191 days. So we're going to go for a plan length of 200 days. Tolerance obviously is going to be, we are fine with the deviation of 10 kilometers, right? Or one, let's do one. For now, see how the performance holds up. And we are going to add a maneuver and use those, but we're not maneuvering in that frame. Remember, we are still in Earth orbit, so we have to use the Earth-centered inertial frame here for that, and then we go for like 4020 is what we were supposed to go for. Let's see where it brings us in. So that's going to bring us that close to Venus. Let's move it a bit around, and we can see, yeah, it's coming close. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So it's getting us pretty close, and we didn't really do anything at all. We just used the transfer window planner. We typed in what we needed to do, and we're gonna getting close, like really close. So what we could do now is we could go for this orbit, we could increase velocity, but we could also wait a little bit further down and can see if it brings us back in. It doesn't. Okay. So we're gonna have to tweak a bit, but as we're still using the flight plan tool, so we can optimize our approach. So let's remove the inclination. We want to get as close at like 400 kilometers to Venus. Let's optimize the trajectory from here, and so it's quite easy. We already achieved what we needed, right? So we could now plan this burn and then do the correction from it. Inclination is now this way, so if you want to use like the gravitational, so if you want to go trailing in, and then do deceleration burn, use a little bit of the gravity, like you would do on a gravity assist maneuver. You could also do this as well, but this should be enough for now. So you can actually see also that from the tangential velocity, so there's nothing like we're really spot on with our orbit to just do a prograde burn. It's a little bit more now, like 4,050 instead of the 4,020, but you can see we are very, very close. So the next is to plan the burn. So let's get our vessel set up properly. We don't have communication right now, which sucks. Hopefully we can regain that communication before we do our burn, or we have to wait for... there you go. Yeah. So let's go for the node here. RCS is on. And then I'm going to use my KOS script that I can also link in the description. It's not mine. And then we are going to execute that burn. Node.ks. Let's wait just a second until it stabilizes and go. So we're approaching the burn. The burn is going to take quite a while. So we will probably going to cut this a bit short, but then I'll see you once we achieve the successful burn. In the meantime, we can also already close the ascent settings. We don't need those anymore. Burn has started, so we're going to burn down to achieve the 4,050 delta V. We still have enough in the tank. We're almost done. Doing such a long burn with the discrepancies and everything, it will mean that we will probably be off a bit once we've finalized this burn. We'll see how much. We'll have to correct this afterwards. So it's like 4 minute 30 or something that we did on the burn in my case. So I'm gonna go and do something here real quick. So no, it's node. So I'm gonna keep us turning a bit, and then I'm gonna decouple because there is still some hydrogen left in the tank. It's gonna boil off, and it's gonna push us on our trajectory over time. So I want to avoid that. And to avoid that, the easiest way is to go perpendicular and then just do a very, very slight correction so it will pass by us. Because the tank is going to accelerate due to the boil off. Still. Slowly, very slowly, but it is going to accelerate. So to correct our orbit, we're gonna need correction burn. So let's do that real quick. Let's do the correction burn. It's gonna go in like 2 minutes from now. And we are going to let Principia actually handle the calculations, so we don't really care about an inclination now. We're going to go 400K. And we're going to go optimize. So it's like 8.9 delta V left to do. There's already my other Venus orbiter from earlier in the playthrough. So we've got like 2 minutes left. Let's prepare everything again to correct our burn. So we're going to set this as node. And then switch to 0. Run. So once we've done this correction, We are going to turn our solar panels to the sun, deactivate the avionics, and then just wait 190 days until we actually arrive at Venus. And from there on, we're going to plan before, but we're going to execute our capture. So we capture us in a highly elliptical orbit, and then maybe we try use aero braking, see how it goes. I've actually done it on Venus before, and then play through uh, with that orbiter, so we can see there. And now look at that! Wow, yeah, I like that. So we're planning to go deep into the atmosphere. uh, we'll just move with RCS a little bit out. We're correcting us a bit. No, come on. Let's get out of the atmosphere. Okay, delete the maneuver. Looking good. So we're already adding a maneuver. So that's at 186 and 1 hour in. From that point on, where does that leave us? Let's rebase. Okay. So let's plan our capture burn. There it is. Looks good. So the maneuvering frame will now be Reno's central inertial reference frame, and we are going to do a deceleration burn. Oh, it's plus. Shouldn't be plus. Should be minus. So, okay. You can already see now that we achieve with like 750. It's a bit less, but we can go in a highly elliptical orbit. Still, we have enough power left, so let's go like this. Periapsis is going to be a few. That's high. So this looks a bit better, and then we're going to correct with a little bit of aero braking maybe. So after we've done this, we can actually go back to the Orbital alarm clock and then just add an alarm. Now we can see this alarm is for the next maneuver node. It's going to be in 186 days at 19th of December. And so we're going to go so Titan Venus orbiter capture. And we want to go and be alarmed 1 hour before that. So put that in. So now we can see it's like 186 days now. Until in 30 minutes until we are ready to do the capture burn. For the rest of the day, I will just quickly put those thrust limiter here to very slow. Put in a bit thrust. So let's kill rotation. Orientation is good enough to keep our satellite powered up all the way. And so once we have achieved that position, I'm going to do spin stabilization, and let's just look at our trajectory. It's still looking fine. We're expecting periapsis to be at what? There's a maneuver in the way, but they're at 360 now. Should be good. It's going to be fun. Maybe we need a little bit more than an hour, depending on. We might have to plan the burn before, because we might be in the shadow of Venus when it comes to communication to Earth. So keep that in mind when you approach the planet, if you want to do the capture burn. and you notice that before you plan it and put it in, you're already in the shadow and you can't send any commands to Venus. That's the only shot you got. Well, you can see if you have enough delta V, you have a little bit more shots on the trajectory we had because it's gonna come again a little bit closer to Venus here, but that's like far out. So um, there's no real way to correct this. So if you screw this one up, you're gonna stuck with the flyby. You're gonna be stuck with the flyby. Right. So let's wait until we reach Venus and then do the capture. And we're back. So 2 days left until we reach Venus. So we're going to fastball this from here. Let's see our trajectory. Communication to Earth is looking good. There is Venus. And we're going to switch from a heliocentric inertial frame to the Venus central inertial. There you go. So trajectory is still looking good. We didn't really get anything, but you can also see that we are probably going to be in Earth shadow now when we reach that point and we want to do our burn. So we have to pre-plan this. We fortunately did already, so we will not be communicating when we're down here with our satellite, but satellite probe, whatever. But yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So for that to happen, we need avionics are on. We are going to position our probe already so it is looking into the direction of the node. And once we are done, we can just execute like MechJab or your KOS script to execute that node we've planned before. Oh, there was the alarm coming up. And now we enter the communication, sorry, the communication shadow with Earth. So there's nothing now we can do anymore to correct anything. We have to rely on our program and the data we put in. No corrections possible from now on. So unfortunately, with the engine we are using, the Juno engine, it only has 3 ignitions. That's the second one will be using. So we could use the other one for another big correction. There, everything is coming into place now, and yeah, we'll see. It is working fine here. So getting us closer. We will be using RCS to bring us down a little bit into the atmosphere, into the upper atmosphere of Venus, to slow us down, and then see how that works out with the apoapsis we have here of now 36,000 kilometers. So we've done that. Let's go back to the flight plan, delete it. So guys, getting ready for the last aerobraking maneuver here. The atmosphere on the body will start at 145. We're dipping in a bit, just putting the tip in, we don't want to go in too deep, just enough to dump enough energy to decay our orbit a bit, to decay our collapses a bit, but not to heat the probe as much as that something would break. So, I mean, you want to go slow and gently, right? And so we are going to go about like what, like 15 deep in. That should probably be enough. Yeah. And then let's see what happens to our apoapsis orbit. It's going to decay slowly, but we will take a look at our heating. We will take a look at our orbit, and if we can actually do something different on what we need to see. So we are now, just right now, dipping in the atmosphere. We can see our heating is going up, our convection flux is going up. So we are absorbing energy, but also our height is decreasing ever so slightly of apoapsis. There you go. So now you can see it's slowly decaying. The deeper we dip into the atmosphere, the faster we are going to decay. But you have to experiment with your craft on this, how much heat it can handle, and how hard you want to do that aerobraking. It's not only the heat, but later on the aerodynamic forces will come into play as well. So some I've already ripped a few antennas doing this. So the probe was still fine, but the antennas were gone. Nonetheless, we can see our orbit is ever so slightly decaying. You can do this all over again, all over again. But now I'm going, like, we're getting back up now. So the deceleration will be slower now. The energy we're dumping in the atmosphere is going to get slower. But you can see here we can try. So we can go even further down. Like, so you could try to go like 120, see what happens, and it will fasten up. Now this needs a lot of um, this needs a lot of orbits now to actually decay this down. Uh, but it should get the trick done without spending too much delta V. So just go ahead, experiment a bit on this. How deep can you get your probe in without having it burn up? You can use test flight for that. The new test flight feature actually is amazing, where you can actually have the probe start in. Let's take a look real quick. Where you can actually set the probe in orbit. You could do this before, but now you can do the orbit properties as well. So not just having a circular orbit at whatever, but sorry on that. But yeah, on the orbit as well to do some testing. So that will probably look like this. So we're going to open up the Titan Venus orbiter, the one we used earlier. And so if you want to simulate this now, you can say, well, start in orbit, but now you can say the argument of periapsis as well as the LAN and the inclination properly. This is more than we've had before. Makes it a bit easier, so we can even like not do a circular orbit, so we can do the elliptical orbit that we've just had in a proper flight, and then from there on, it's easy for you to figure out how much your probe can handle when it comes to dipping in the atmosphere to do aerobraking. So I hope this helped you guys out a lot, and you were enabled you to use the tools the game gives you to do interplanetary maneuvers. Let me know in the comments if there's anything missing, if there's anything wrong. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, that video was sponsored definitely by Ibuprofen and cough medicine, so big shout out to them. And I will go now on holidays and vacation and work on the next video afterwards. Talk to you guys later. Have a good one.